we're trying to do that by taking a slightly different approach. And they're sort of expanding the idea of what design is about and applying design as an approach to problem solving, if you like, something that I call design thinking, to these more systemic kinds of problems. Before I do that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what design does when it's working at its best. And I think when design creates really great solutions to real human need, it's balancing these three things. It's balancing what's desirable, what people need, with what's technically feasible, what can actually be done, with what's economically viable.
PRIs, or program-related investments, I'm sure many of you have heard of, offer one path to flexible capital. PRIs allow foundations to invest on a for-profit basis in program areas of their interest. PRIs, however, are not frequently used, as you can tell. Indeed, in 2007, less than 1% of the $44 billion deployed by foundations went to PRIs. Most of this capital, moreover, was invested in relatively low-risk debt instruments. Only 5% of PRIs, so 5% of that sliver there, which is less than 0.05% of deployed capital by foundations, a mere $20 million, was invested in equity, which is just the kind of risk capital that can nurture high-impact social businesses. Now, the good news is that a number of foundations, including the Packard, Ford, Gates Foundations, have active PRI strategies. The Soros Economic Development Fund and the Skoll and Rockefeller Foundations, meanwhile, are among the most active investors in equity-based PRIs. And we're learning a great deal from working with these organizations and are deeply appreciative of their partnerships.
The greatest changes in technology really come through networks. And so when I was asked to talk about technology, I wanted to talk about the network in all its forms. And I reference back to the Silk Road because the interconnection of people made so much change at that time. And I'm from Buffalo, so I have a little shout out to the Erie Canal. But I like to reference the Erie Canal because one thing that people don't realize is so much of the abolition movements and the women's movements and many movements came from the conversations that took place from the boats moving along. And if you go to Seneca Falls, where Elizabeth Cady Stanton's house is, it's from here to probably that second table from a lock on the Erie Canal. So networks really matter for social change. There's a guy at our company named Vic Gandrotra, and he runs mobile and he runs development. And one day he was telling a story about how he was having dinner with a friend and the kids were playing. And he said to his friend in conversation, just, I don't know. And then the conversation went on and his daughter was like, Daddy, where's your phone? And he's like, oh, it's in the car. And they kept talking, where's your phone? And she couldn't imagine that if you didn't know something, you wouldn't reach for your phone. So I think that what's happening globally, if you're 5 years old, you know that there's this very powerful thing that interconnects all of us and the knowledge that we have. And
the question is, how do you get the best of the world's practices, both in the private sector and the public sector, to the right people at the right time in the right places so that it can lead to policy and quick reduction of greenhouse gas emissions? That was the question and opportunity that led to the creation of ClimateWorks, this bigger collaborative, which I'm going to tell you briefly about. Today, ClimateWorks is a network, a family of organizations working in many different countries where development and use of energy is most acute. It's also working in a number of different sectors, again, where technology, where science, where the private sector has demonstrated better ways to do it using less energy, reducing greenhouse gas emissions.